Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a true homecoming for me. We arrived just last night, so it's not. I did not have jet lag to come to DeKalb, so because we only fly from Boston, so there is no jet lag issue here. But we came back, the whole family. So as Basri said earlier, when we came to DeKalb, it was winter '99, and there was a blizzard actually happening. So we had to postpone our trip from Washington at that time to wait until blizzard pass our route, and then we arrived here. So I remember our professor, the late Dwight King, he told me, Anis, you come to DeKalb when we had one of the worst winter. So you are baptized. So I was baptized as a newcomer to DeKalb. But indeed, it's great to be back. I haven't done any touring this morning. So we came to DeKalb past midnight last night. So we were a bit exhausted, and in the morning we just had a small chat and then come here. But it's great to see a lot of old friends here. We'll have our reunion later, because when we meet, when I enter this room, it feels like, wow, very formal conversation here. Wow, look at this. This is a classroom setting, and I was expecting more like a relaxed dialogue. It turned out that, wow, this is very NIU, I guess. Anyway, if I may, before we start, if I may get some idea, I asked Busri, who will be in the audience? And I said, I don't know too. Okay, if I may, how many of you are coming from DeKalb? Okay, so this, yeah, of course, this is the DeKalb community. Thank you.
That's not one.
Yeah, still quite a few. How many of you are coming from Chicago area? Ah, okay. You got a lot of batch of Indonesia.
Yes.
Oh, you're an exchange student.
No, I'm Fulbright now with the Fulbright.
Oh, this is all Fulbright.
Fulbright, so yeah.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the suffering.
Graduated last week. So
Yeah, being a Fulbright student, it's great. Berat dijalani yang ada ceritakan. What about outside Chicago area, but in Illinois? Illinois. What about Wisconsin? Ah, okay. Wisconsin, there are two: Madison and Milwaukee. Madison. What about you? Madison. Okay. What about Indiana? One of Pak Iskandar. Okay. Yes. This is Indiana. Anyone from Iowa? Urbana is Illinois. Yeah. Arya is Urbana. Pak Arya and I, we were students together at that time. You finished what year, Pak Arya? 2006. Yeah, we finished about the same time. The difference is I went home. He made another home here. Anyway, this is more like a dialogue. I would like to have actually listen as well. Not only I'm sharing, as you know, you are also observing, monitoring what is happening in the country. And sometimes you may know more than I do. You may see things faster than we did because of the digital technology and everything. And so you're observing what is happening in our country. And I'm more interested on perhaps having conversation about what's behind the news, what's behind the conversation that is out in the public. And if I may share a little bit, I had the blessing, the privilege to be part of some of these policy making in Indonesia, especially in the area of education and in the area of Jakarta. It was a privilege. I had that opportunity. And I remember when I joined Jakarta's government, I brought back books that I stored in the library. This is what I did. After I came back, and then I was invited to be part of Paramadina University, all those books that I acquired here, that I read here, were in my library. So I told the library person that I have quite a few collection. It will be much more helpful if I put it in the school, in the university library. So I put all my books in the university library. There is a section where I put our books. And what happened is other professors were doing the same thing. They thought rather than the books stay in their home, let's put it in the university library. So we put it all there. And I rarely read that again, because my work here is comparative politics and public policy. When I was in Maryland, College Park, my work was on international trade, but to be specific, on currency crisis. So I happened to study currency crisis when I was there. Never expect that we're going to face another currency crisis today. It was 98, so that was the time where you study as in financial crisis. Anyway, when I joined government in 2017, I realized I need those books back. Many of the books in public policy. So I brought all my books to be in my office, and I started rereading it. And this is also a lesson learned, perhaps. When we study public policy, myself in Maryland and as well as here in Illinois, we sort of didn't really know, why do we read these books? Why do we have to study? For example, there was a course here called moral studies in politics, I believe. And then same thing when I did that in Maryland, about moral values in policy making. It was very philosophical. It was hard readings. And a week you can have up to this course only, up to 300 to 400 pages, just this course only. It was very demanding. And we all wonder, why do we need that? Until I was having an opportunity to make decision, to talk about who gets what, when, where, how much, that moral values come into equations. That method that I learned here happened to be instrumental in how we translate ideas into policies and how we form our ideology as a person in authority. When you are in authority, you make decision. And that's the job of a leader. If I were asked, what is the number one job of a leader, then I would say to make decision. And when you make decision, you have to have values. You have to have ideology, because it will guide you to go through various different dilemma. As leaders, you're always facing dilemma. If you are a man of authority, in authority, you're always facing dilemma. And when you face dilemma, and you don't have ideologies or moral values, then you make decision based on cost benefit, based on which give you better return, which give you a more beneficial impact for yourself. But if you have values, then you're talking about what is right and what is not right, what should be done, what should not be done. And there is a limit of what you can do, there's a limit of what you should not be doing. So all of those coursework that I learned here has been very instrumental. Anyway, so going back to Indonesia today, is still intact. Masih utuh Indonesia. Don't worry, Indonesia is still utuh. We are intact, but our economic situation, needless to say, is very challenging, extremely challenging, extremely challenging. The deteriorations of rupiah is just a symptoms. You cannot fix a disease by fixing simply the symptoms. You have to actually go much deeper. And this time, the problem is much more structural than it used to be. It is much more complicated than it used to be. For example, when we were facing financial crisis in 97, 98, it was not only Indonesia, other neighboring countries experiencing. Those are mostly due to the fact that our private sectors, mostly banking sectors, were growing so fast with very minimum check and controlled and basically under-regulated. It was very free, in a quote, economy at that time. So when they were able to acquire fund from the international market, they're able to get mostly short-term investment, and they're using that for long-term investment. So there is that gap, and government knows minimum about all of this. So it was the private sector that caused the crisis, not the public sector. The public sector were fine. Actually, our fiscal, we're actually experiencing a surplus at that time, and very prudent, well managed on our fiscal side. But the market, especially in the banking sectors, they are taking so much risky decision. It was all when basically fine until Thailand experiencing crisis, bad crisis, and then investors started to look around and compare other countries, and Indonesia was no different. So it's the private sector, not government. This time, the private sector is doing everything right. The private sector is not acquiring large fund from international sources, but it's the government. It's the government debt that is now one of our biggest challenge. So that's one. But it is not a problem that is created by Prabowo government. So he inherited this problem. It's a problem that has been there for quite some times. So let's be fair, not to blame it on him himself or his administration. Unfortunately, after he took over administrations a year and a half ago, many government policies were not addressing this problem, making it even worse. Why even worse? Because of government allocations for activities that does not support economic growth. So you will see programs like free meals, programs like the cooperative at the village level, and many other programs such as procurement of military strategic equipments and all of that. So instead of making sure that the problem is not worsening, it has contributed to the problem. So we are now facing that critical situation. So that's one on our economic situations. On the other hand, our democracy has been facing quite a challenge since the second term of Pak Jokowi. Weakening of democratic institution is happening. You're seeing reform in the undang-undang for KPK. You're also seeing a reform in the central and local government relationship through undang-undang Cipta Kerja, in which re-centralization is happening. And then on the aspect of law enforcement, there are reform but the reform has weakened institutions. So on our democracy, we are seeing a decline. So even in 2019, before the elections, we were discussing a book of how democracy dies. And the book is not talking about Indonesia, actually. The book is talking about the challenge that Americans is facing. But it's so related to what we are facing even then. So today, the challenge is much bigger. So we are on that situations today, on economic front as well as on democracy. Do we have optimisms about the future? I believe the optimism is still there. Why? One, we have been seeing Indonesians speaking up and demanding better economic policy, criticizing government. And two, on the democratic front, civil societies were very active in trying to make sure that minimum three things. One, freedom of expression is there. Two, opposition voice is there. Three is the three branches of government is functioning. They're demanding those three things to be present. So as long as those forces were still out there, I think we are still have reasons to be optimistic. And Indonesia experienced up and downs in our economy, up and down in our democracy, but we often disappointed the pessimist. Because the pessimists often think Indonesia will have no future. I remember when I was here, 1999-2000, never in the history of Indonesia there was a questions about disintegration until the year 2000. That was the time, the only time where people talk about will balkanization happen in Indonesia. Before that period, never we talk about that. Even when Indonesia experienced some local rebellion movement, it was not so much secessionist. It was more central politics being echoed at the local level. But in 99, the threat was real. In the year 2000, the threat was real. But then yet, we survived. That's why I said at the beginning, Indonesia masih utuh. Back then, the question is, can Indonesia survive as a nation like what we see in the map? That period is gone. And if we look back, so many Indonesianists, so many analysts during that period talking about the threat of disintegration, territorial disintegration of Indonesia. It's all no longer an issue, no longer a conversation. So I'm optimistic that we can fix this. We can move forward with hopefully not long after this crisis hit. It seems to be hitting almost the bottom today. Hopefully we'll come back very soon. So that's one on democracy and on economy. The other aspect I'd like to talk about is you all are far away from the homeland. And being outside Indonesia is an opportunity actually and you may have experienced the same as I did. I learned more about my Indonesia when I was away. Because I have to speak, I have to talk, I have to write, and it gives me like a new perspective. Just like we're in this building. As an analogy, if Indonesia is this building, I don't know the shape of this building until I go outside this building. Once I go outside this building, I realize, oh, so this is the shape of that building. When I'm inside, I'm within Indonesia. Everything is just normal. When you go outside, you start comparing. You start seeing it from a different perspective. So if I may encourage all of you during your stay here, during your study is that having engagement with other Indonesian students is good, but engage with international students is better. Engage with American students is better because you have an opportunity that your fellow countrymen out in Indonesia don't have that opportunity. So engage with international community, get involved out there, create a network. And for those of you who decided to continue your career here in the US, I never see this as a nationalistic route. No, you can be out, you can be away from Indonesia, and you can still be meaningful to Indonesia because actually we need more Indonesians outside the country to represent ourselves better. Because when Pak Arya is here working, then anyone engaging with him, always seeing him as an Indonesian. So he represents Indonesia. You all, in whatever institution you're working with, you're representing us. So on that part, do your best. Jaga nama baik. How do I translate jaga nama baik? What is nama baik in English? Yeah. Hold up your reputation as an Indonesian. That's the role you have. So even though you're not back in the country, but you're out there, and I even suggested to many, if you're able to join international institutions, do that, because we need more Indonesians in those international institutions. We have seen from Asia, Indians, the Philippines, Japanese, Chinese, many of them are active in the international institutions, but we don't have enough Indonesians on those international institutions. So go for it. So let me end my opening remark there about a little bit about Indonesia, a little bit about your experience here, and about your future career. If you choose to be in outside, go for it, and towards impress them. Terima kasih.